JP John Paul Torrio, which he's, if you've ever heard of Paul Mitchell hair care, which is the white bottles with the black labeling. And there's actually a whole story behind why he picked white bottles and black labeling, because it's least expensive. And then he also did Patron. So I was driving him to the airport one time. And at the time, I think he had like 12 to 15, 18 different companies that he was running or he was involved with. And I was like, how do you do that? Like, I have a hard time doing one job. And he said, you got to learn the language. He goes, if you learn the language of that area, you can do it. In business is business. So you need to make more money than you spend. And so you need to grow your revenue and cut your costs and all that stuff. So that's the same, but the language is different. The lesson that JP taught me, and it's been probably one of the fundamental things to it. And I had a chance, and he doesn't remember, but I had a chance to thank him about a year ago. Like, thank you for that. And obviously he didn't remember me who I was. And it was on the phone. But it was learning the language of where you have to go. And so anyone transitioning, I don't care if it's the military or anywhere else, but if you're transitioning into a new discipline or a new role, or you want to, you have to learn the language of the people you're going to. So if you want to become a supply chain person, you have to understand and speak supply chain. If you want to become a marketer, you have to understand the words of marketing. One of my roles was I did in-store marketing, in-person, how someone engaged marketing items, how do you get one more item into a shopping cart. But then I had to go into this world where I'd start pushing new products into the digital world. So it's still marketing, but it's a different language. So I took 5 months of classes through the University of Illinois-Urbana, all in digital marketing. And it helped me convert the physical marketing language to the digital new media marketing language. And going, oh, different terms, same thing. And so I learned to speak the language. So early on, I was a supply chain guy, then a physical marketing guy, in-store presence marketing guy. Then I learned the language of digital marketing. And so it's going back and learning the language, the education. And so I do go back to school for classes every so often. First one after military was MBA, but that was really the real core classes with 3 classes around procurement, supply chain. That got me into IBM. Then I learned how to sell to take it through. That I learned by kind of grit and determination, not great at it until I actually learned a process, which is Miller Hyman, which helped me tremendously. And so Vince McFarlane taught me that, and I still talk to him all the time. And there's lessons, but you have to keep learning. You have to learn the language. So anyone who's transitioning, it doesn't matter if you're transitioning from the military to the civilian world, or you're transitioning from tech to retail. You have to learn the language of the piece in verticals, hospitality to retail, etc. And so within 6 months, you can learn language of wherever you're going. But you have to learn the language.
I heard that one of the companies, I don't know if it's the current one or a different one, but you mentioned like the first 4 years was very, very brutal. At what point do you go, this isn't going to work? Like, it's like, I'm going to keep going till it works. But at what point, like, is quitting okay? Or it's like, okay, I got to just end this company and try something else.
You have to look at what the market's telling you. The market will tell you if it's viable or not. Not if you have a good idea. The market will tell you. And so you say, well, how do you know the market? So like what I'm currently doing is RTLS, real-time locating services. So it's basically, and the people on my tech team hate it when I use this analogy, but on your phone, when you have this little dot that follows you on Google Maps, that little dot is location services in the outside world. As soon as you walk into a building, that goes away. What RTLS is really that dot. And it's not exactly like this, but it's that dot of where are you in a building. So what we do is we can get you what floor and what room you're in a building. So if someone, and I need to update my background, but if someone pushes a button on a panic button, within a building, they know where they are. And I'm looking for, or on this panic button, or on this Motorola radio. This is a little small wearable that has a little button. And so we don't do anything with this hardware except for when you push this button to do the location, it's the same as pushing this button for location. So it goes and it gives you your right floor and room location. So if you can do it mobile, then you can do it in fixed location. So back to your question is, how do you know to keep going? There's a report from Gartner, which does a lot of industry look at, that says, so the space we're in 2021 was 1.9 billion. By 2030, it'll be 55 billion globally. So, and it gives things for asset tracking and people tracking, et cetera. I was like, I know where we are. Like, so we're part of a $55 billion industry, and now it's doing it. So I did another business that was around food and beverage packaging, and it was a great idea, creative, but there was no metrics on how I was going to make it. And we got ourselves in Dodger Stadium and Yankee Stadium, and we got ourselves in 7-Eleven, et cetera, and Auntie Anne's. Like it was good. We were doing great. It was a niche play that wasn't going to grow, that wasn't going to be a $1 billion enterprise. And so it's really a decision on, and nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with having a company that produces, that gives you enough money to live off of. Like, great. Lots of people do that and have a great life. It was going to be struggling to get to the next level. And so I shut that one down because the indicators, the market wasn't grasping it hard enough to do that. What we're doing now with the RTLS is the market's there. Like, so you think about everything that's done outside in the way of collecting intelligence on movement outside is coming to the inside world. It is coming to inside buildings. And it's not Big Brother tracking you, et cetera. Like, that's not what it is. Like, because like this button here, you're not tracked. Or this, the radio, you're not tracked until you push the button. When you say, I need help. And by the way, it doesn't mean that something's wrong. It could be you're a school teacher and Sally or Bob or Pat skinned their knee. So you push the button, and so but you stay with the kid, and then you can start talking to them like, hey, Sally, Bob, or Pat skinned their knee, and can you bring them some Band-Aids? But I don't want to leave them because they're crying, etc. And of course, at that point with a little kid, you need to give them attention. But you may be in a high school where you're like, hey, I'm breaking up a fight, which hopefully it doesn't happen. But you're breaking up a fight, like you don't want to be talking to anyone while you're trying to like focus on the event in front of you. So like this is a better one where you just push the button, and they come know where you are, and don't talk to me because I'm paying attention to what's going on in front of me. Or this one, you push the button, and maybe you do want to talk to them, like if you're part of the services. So there's different tools for different environments, for different use cases. And so, but our focus is really around the software that drives that. So now the question you asked me is, how do you know? I have outside indicators, outside reports that tell me the market for this space is $55 billion. So now I need to figure out, how do I get us to have a slice of that pie at this? And so there's ways to do this for self-funding or get venture funding or private equity funding. And luckily I've kind of done all those things. So I kind of know what's going to be best to get me where I want to go without giving up a big chunk of the company. And more importantly, making sure that the teammates that are with me on this journey, making sure they get taken care of.